Welcome to Explain 11. This is going to be a short flight from Seatac Airport to Paine Field. Paine Field is in Everett, and we're going to visit the big Boeing factories there. This is a game that I bought a couple of days ago. Been flying FSX for a bit years ago. I do like FSX, but it's from the 1880s, and it's also only nice if you install 20,000 third-party software packages. It just isn't fun anymore to play if you want to play it the way I want to play it. Explain out of the box vanilla is good enough. It's got its flaws. But yeah, over the last couple of days, I ironed some of them out. The AI is, for instance, annoyingly stupid, but I'll get to that in a bit. Let's start a flight. Start with a new flight. Like I said, it's a vanilla installation. The only thing that I changed on the entire thing is the registration on the airplane. I am Dutch, so I'm flying a Dutch plane, and it needs a Dutch registration, so the registration I changed to Dutch. One annoyance is that ATC uses the registration number, not a call sign. That is kind of, stupid. We are starting with the engines off. We're gonna start completely dead airplane. I am a aviation mechanic. I have worked on the 737 quite a bit, so I can tell a little bit about the systems, but not a pilot, by the way. So if I mess anything up, well, you know, I'm not doing it professionally. So I am starting from this cargo ramp right here, and the reason for that being I can do a pushback and end up at 16 left, just next to 16 left, where I am going to be taken off from. I could also go here, the hold 16 left, but another annoyance with the game is that ATC or ground control wants me to take the other entrance. So instead of being able to take off from here, I have to still taxi around. It doesn't make sense to me, but anyway, cargo 11 it's going to be. And weather-wise, I'm not going to do completely clear. Completely clear is boring. And I actually put a wind layer right at the bottom. It's a southerly wind. It forces the ATC to put me on runway 16 right, which has the ILS for Paine Field. And we're gonna. Oh, and as you can see, AI airplanes, I turned them off. The I in AI is optional. It's a very, very irritating system. I have waited for an airplane to take off for a while, and all it did was get up to speed and do a pirouette or, you know, a burnout, whatever the heck, and it just kept the runway busy for minutes until I finally just decided to delete that airplane, which I wish I could do in real life with some people. But yeah, it would be scary, I guess, if somebody could do that. But you know, AI is really annoying. They also don't always fly the assigned altitude, so every 20 seconds ATC is asking them to get to their assigned altitude of, I don't know, 3,000 feet, for instance, and they'll acknowledge it, and then 20 seconds later they will ask it again, and 20 seconds. It's very, very annoying. So AI aircraft is turned off, which is kind of a shame. I mean, something like that does put in realism. Time of day, early in the morning, just a beautiful time to fly. Fuel, we don't need anything in the center, so we're nice and light. I'm going to try to do this flight with ATC and Autopilot mostly. I'm going to do an autoland. Now that I can't land manually, it's just kind of fun to make it work on autoland. But which isn't quite ideal in this game. You'll see it in the end. It won't make a really nice landing as it's supposed to, but it is, after all, a computer software program simulator, so we won't kill anybody by messing it up a little bit. And here we are. The game is loaded. Took a while. Everything is dark. It's completely dead. Let's move this out of the way. It's only used to help the pilot in its seat. And first thing we're going to do is turn on some power. Okay. Go to the overhead panel. Find the battery switch. It has to go to on. Close the guard. Standby power has to go to auto. And ground power to on. And now we have power. Whole plane is powered up. We're still hooked up to ground. Oddly enough, even if we push back with all this, still it will still be turned on. Let's see. Let's start the APU. APU is a small jet engine in the back, and its sole purpose is to provide electricity if the plane isn't hooked up to ground power, when the engines are turned off, and it provides air pressure to start the engines. There's a small turbine in each engine that spins it to gives it the initial speed and airflow through the engine to be able to sustain power, to sustain combustion. APU. For that we first do a squib test. These squibs are explosives that fire the fire bottles. And to the left in this switch I get my fault lights. To the right I get my bells and whistles. And press the fire warning switches. And they quit. And this isn't quite right either, but master caution turns off the lights. And we're ready for APU. We'll turn on some fuel pumps. We'll do left and right. The APU actually drinks fuel out of the left, but might as well turn all the pumps on the way we need it. The center won't be able to pressurize because there's no fuel in it. And we'll go to start. Very fast starting APU. The EGT. Of course I do all the testing and stuff. It's not really necessary in the game, is it? I mean, I have failures turned off, so. But it's still a little bit fun to do it realistically. As soon as this light comes on, the APU is up and running. And we'll turn both buses to on, and now we are completely off the grid, as to speak. Ground power is off. We want bleed air on. With this switch in auto, the isolation valve, the right side should be pressurized as well. I can actually not move this switch to open, but we're going to turn these two on. As soon as the engines are started up, we'll kick off the APU and we're on engine pressure. Let's turn on some hydraulic pumps. These won't do anything right now because the engines are not turning, so there's no hydraulic pressure there. And this should not turn off these lights for the engines, but they do in the game. Anything else? Let's turn off the yaw damper. This is the inertial reference system. It's already turned on, which is a good thing because this takes about 10 minutes to align. Go down, and you can. This panel actually shows you where the power is coming from or whether the systems have power. Go to ground power, which doesn't make sense because I have the ground power available light here, but it shows at 0. The engines aren't running, so that should be 0. APU generator, there you go, and it should be about 115 with 400 Hertz. And these should be normal. Go up north, and we'll turn on the window heat, turn on the probe heats. This light will go off. The whole aim is to go over all the lights and make sure there's no orange or amber. It's not orange, it's amber. All the amber lights should be off. This one will turn off as soon as I turn off bleed air for the APU. And I'll do lights just as we're about to taxi out, I think. Reset the view. The view is a little annoying sometimes. We are ready for pushback. I'm gonna see that from outside.
Okay, I'll send the push card.
There we go. If I don't say anything or do anything, he'll whine about the brakes. Here we go, but he doesn't tell me to release the brakes. But he'll whine about it.
Hey, I need your brakes off.
See? There you go, brakes off. And sure enough, here we go. And we should be turning to the left or to the right, looking after looking forward. That's a beautiful view right here over the mountains. I do like to fly in these games in the mornings. It's just nice to have that sun come up over the hills. It's some beautiful light. I'm a photographer, and the early morning hours, they're called the golden hours, and the evening hours as well.
You paid the fuel bill, right?
Yeah, funny. I paid the fuel bill. He makes a joke every now and then, not always. He also doesn't ask me to set my brakes, which cost me once because I started the engines, and after engine start I looked up and I was somewhere over there. So parking brake is set and we are ready for engine start. Let's move over here again. So we have bleed air pressure. This panel does the engine start as it says, and it basically controls ignition. That's the almost everything here is regarding ignition. Ignition left, ignition right. You leave it in both. It's not like magneto check where you go to left and right. Ignition on turbine engines is only used to start them and to keep them lit in cases of like icing. That's when in auto, when you turn on engine ice, the ignition comes on again. If I turn this to ground, for ground start, it'll open up a engine valve, a starter valve, and it'll allow this duct pressure here to the engine, and it'll rotate the engine. And we're going to start with number 2, which is standard with most. Well, let me turn on the anti-collision. The anti-collision light actually lets people know something's happening. Usually companies start right engine first, and from what I have always understood, it's because the right hydraulic system pressurizes the brakes, so it's safer to do that. Maybe other companies do it differently, but here we go. We go to ground, and as you can see, starter valve is open right there. We have N2 rising and N1. This is the big fan in the front. It's slowly spooling up as well, and over about 22-23% N2, it's safe to put this handle to idle. And we have fuel flow right there, and EGT rise, which means we have light off. Around 40% N2, the starter valve closes, and we are now up and running. And we'll do the same for the left. Start valve open, N2. Oddly enough, these engines, another thing that you have to watch is oil pressure rise. Oddly enough, in this game it's not that important because there is no oil pressure indication. And fuel. fuel flow, we got EGT rise, start valve open, yeah, there it goes. I think it's higher than 2, it's like 50%, but okay. So we are now, we have our engines running, so we can switch to engine generators. I will leave the APU running. Most pilots will leave the APU running on small hops. It's just not worth turning it off anyway. Turn off air pressure. The engines provide far less pressure when they are on idle. The APU really is a powerhouse when it comes to providing air pressure, but that is one, you know, that is its most important purpose, is to be able to start the engines in the morning. Lights. Let's turn on all the lights because I will forget. Okay, I don't need runway turn off lights. Logo light, of course. You want to be able to see who I am. Position strobe. Logo lights are an option for most most airlines, and some actually don't want logo lights. Collision is already on. Wing lights only, well, they illuminate the wings as it says, and you can see ice build up on the wing leading edge. Wheel well lights, and the interesting thing about the 737 is that it allows you to turn your wheel well lights on, the lights inside the landing gear wheel wells, and that is because in 737s right here there's a small panel, and you can actually look into the wheel well because there's lines on the drag strut, on the lock strut, and they have to line up, and then you know that your wheels are, or your gears, down and locked. The same thing applies for the mains. You actually have to go through the cabin and lift up a flap there, and you can see down into the wheel wells. So that's why the pilots can turn on wheel well lights. It's kind of weird, but I suppose it's simple. It works. It is a design out of the 50s. So okay, these windows were designed out of the 50s as well, but no longer necessary. They just put plugs in them. Okay, so we have engines started. We have lights turned on. Let's get to ATC and follow flight plan. KSEA is Seatac and KPAE is Paine Field. I would like to go a little higher than 500 feet, 10,000. We will never get there, but anyway, I will add Stilly as a marker for approach. If I do not do this, it is a bit of a crapshoot whether or not I end up in Canada or on Paine Field. It's not a very good system, but it does, you know, it's better than nothing. Again, this is vanilla. There's no FMC packages, there's no nothing. FMC, by the way, another wonderful design out of 50s or so. I would have thought 25 or so years after I enter aviation, this would be I don't know, updated, something that actually makes more sense and is easier to figure out. And I still haven't tried to figure it out, to be honest, but I'm not going to use it. It is an old system, and I'm happy just flying a quick hop like this with ATC helping me. What do I want to do? I want to, let's see, so we're going to be taking off from 16 left, and we can hear that from here.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Cleared IFR to Kilo, Papa, Alpha, Echo, as filed. Maintain 9,000, squawk 4700.
So 4700, you set that here.
Cleared IFR to Kilo, Papa, Alpha, Echo, as filed. Maintain 9,000, squawk 4700, Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie, Kilo, Sierra, Echo, Alpha. Altimeter 2992.
2992, that's standard. Standard pressure is, as soon as I press that button, it'll go to standard. If I turn left, you'll see 29901, and if I turn right, 29993. So just press that button and it's in standard. Same there. He did not tell us. We have. Oh, sorry.
Kilo, Sierra, Echo, Alpha, altimeter 2992, Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
So we go here.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie, runway 16 left, taxi via Alpha, Bravo, 16 Lima, 34 Romeo, hold short of runway 16 left.
So that is 16 left, and this is the arrow pointing me
Runway 16
in
left,
the direction
taxi
of it.
via Alpha, Bravo, 16 Lima, 34 Romeo, hold short of 16 left, Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
And we are putting the heading into runway heading. They will give me a different heading, 140 I believe, when I take off. So, but you know, we don't know that yet, not for reals. Anything else that I gotta think of? I don't think so. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Wonderful thing that pilots actually use is checklists, and checklists, I do believe they save lives, because I always go over everything and I still forget stuff. Let me turn my flaps to takeoff configuration. I'm gonna go to 5, and there's your flap indication right there. And this says anti-skid, but this is actually a switch for auto brakes. This light is anti-skid. This is refuse takeoff. If I do not take off for whatever reason, I slam the throttles back, it goes into maximum braking all automatically. And we are off to the runway. They may not look like it, but they turn on a dime, these airplanes. They are very easy to turn and into tight corners. Just got to do it slowly.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie, contact tower on 119.9er.
Just hit the brakes, there you go. I have a switch for it. Doesn't always take.
Contact tower on 119.9er, Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
And we go to tower.
Tower, Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Fly heading 140, runway 16 left, clear for takeoff.
Heading 140, runway 16 left, cleared for takeoff. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
So heading 140, and I'd like to set my entire autopilot before I take off. Speed about 245. That's because under 10,000 feet you do not want to go over 250. Altitude is set at 9,000. Well, we won't even reach that. They'll tell us to go back down to 6,000 as I go through it, really. So I'm gonna go on a very gentle climb, I think. Auto throttle arm, and we'll turn on the flight directors and turn on autopilot A. The reason being that as soon as I take off, I'll take over the stick with my left hand and then try with my right hand and the mouse to hit the buttons to go into autopilot. And I want to do that in as the least amount of movements as possible. I gotta take a sip of my drink every now and then, so if you hear me take a little break, that's what's happening. Gotta do this with a drink, right? Always fly with a drink. I'm kidding, of course. This is just on the computer. Alright, so flaps are in takeoff configuration. Brakes are in RTO. I got my autopilot set. I think I'm ready to go. I'm not even gonna stop. So I just push my throttles forward and pull back a little bit. Nobody ever does 100% takeoff, really. So the airliners do like their engines. At about 130, I'm going to pull up and rotate. Put my gear in the hole as soon as possible. And now I'm flying with my left hand. And there we go. We got everything set now.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Contact center on 124.2.
Contact center on 124.2. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
The center. As I'm sucking up
Center,
the flaps.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Fly heading 330. Vectors for the visual, runway 16, right. Climb and maintain 6,000.
Heading 330. Vectors for the visual, runway 16, right. Up to 6,000. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
We already changed to 6,000.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Kilo, Sierra, Echo, Alpha. Altimeter 2992.
Kilo, Sierra, Echo, Alpha. Altimeter 2992. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
And at about this location, I'm gonna hope it makes it. Ah, shit. And it's not.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Are you with me?
Heading 340. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
Right.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Resume on navigation.
Okay, looks like we're doing good.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
Oh my God.
Are you with me?
Yeah, I already told
On
you.
navigation. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
There you go. My apologies. Right after takeoff is often where this game crashes for me. So I just did another takeoff, and now I'm just continuing the flight as I ended it last time. And that is one of the reasons I sometimes want to punch my monitor. That
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Are you with me?
yeah.
Center, Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
There you go. Eight.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Fly heading 350. Vectors for the visual, runway 16, right. Climb and maintain 6,000. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Kilo, Romeo, November, Tango. Altimeter 2992.
Kilo, Romeo, November, Tango. Altimeter 2992. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
The ATC system in this drives me nuts sometimes too. And let me go back in here and turn off the AIs. You know I didn't select them to begin with, but for some reason...
November 02 X-ray. Papa, fly heading 250.
Oh, it doesn't delete
Heading
them.
250, November, 02 X-ray. Papa.
There you go. Done. Apply. Go away. I wish I could make some other people go away that way, but... I googled crashes in X-Plane, and one of the posts that I read was that sometimes the AI planes change the system so much that it will power through whatever crashed it to begin with. And I have recorded this bit so many times now, or tried to record it. It's never quite worked well. And again, this is vanilla install. I didn't install any extras. That is one of the big issues with me in this game. It crashes too much. The ATC often stinks, but yeah, better something than nothing, right? And also the AI airplanes, they're just nuts. Getting a message every 20 seconds that somebody has to climb to 3,000, or it's just not enjoyable anymore. Other than stuff like that, I mean, this is a beautiful simulator, and I'm not playing this on maximum settings. I don't have the system for that to run it smoothly. I can play it on maximum settings, but it won't run smoothly. It will stutter a little bit, so I'll play it on less than stellar, and it still looks magnificent. I will probably look at some third-party upgrades. I don't want to have this. I don't want to have these third-party software packages ruin the experience for me. As I said, FSX ruined that for me. It's a good game, but if you really want it to look like something from now, you are installing a lot of stuff. Explain already is looking good. I do want to look for something that makes the ATC better. I already read about a couple of things. Don't know what I end up with. I do want to learn the FMC system. As annoying as and as ancient as this system is, I do want to learn and to fly with it. For now, I'm happy with ATC giving me directions. At some point, who knows? Over long distances, it surely should be better to play with something like that. So now that I'm at 6,000, we won't get many more directions until we're about even with Paine Field. The Autoland feature on this is pretty good. It does tend to have issues as well. Sometimes it does not capture the glide slope. I found that if it captures the localizer first, the glide slope is not a problem. Also, the landings are always rough. It just doesn't know how to do it smoothly. It goes the nose it goes up and down quite a bit, and then in the end it just smashes it down. I won't catch it. I can, but I won't. I will allow it to land itself. It is, after all, a simulator, and it's sort of fun. But you will see what I mean with rough landing. I'm hoping there is some sort of fix for that too, because I do like being able to just fly this thing on the computer, on the Autopilot. Manual flying is sure fun as well. As I said, I really don't have a problem with manually landing this plane. I think I'm pretty good with it actually, on the computer, of course. On real life, things are a lot different. But yeah, we'll see. We'll land this one automatically, just to show you how it's done. And now we wait for more directions from ATC, and we should be getting some soon. Boy, these software crashes are why I drink. Does make life a little easier sometimes. I'm kidding, don't drink and fly. So let's see. That there. is Whidbey Island, and that is Camino Island. Sorry, that is Camino Island, that is Whidbey Island. Camino is where I used to live. And our runway...
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Fly heading 340. Descend and maintain 3,000.
Heading 340, down to 3,000. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Descend and maintain 3,000.
Down to 3,000. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
Another sign that the ATC's crap. They have no patience whatsoever. Of course, I should really set my ILS. Come on. And I should start slowing down. .164, which is the runway heading, and I can show you where I get that. If you set this in the map to IFR low en route, it starts with VFR sectional, but if you set it to IFR low en route, you see the localizer indications, and if you right click on that, you have your 109.3, that is your frequency for your ILS, and here's your course 164. 109.3, we'll set that here. 109.3. This is your communications, this is your nav, as it says right there. 109.3, make that active. So now we should be going. Let's see, it's not visible yet, but you should see glide slope and localizer pop up at some point here. Slow down very slowly. I'll drop the leaders. I'll go to flaps 1. It'll slow the plane down a bit faster, as you can see. If you're curious about
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Fly heading 250.
if you're curious about
Heading 250. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
at what speeds you need to extend your flaps to certain amounts, this is here right underneath the gear lever. It's here's your suggested speeds. And I usually just guess it, and it works out always fine. So, but these are all your maximums on gear extension. You can actually go 320 knots, which is 0.82 Mach, which is pretty quick. I've actually seen pilots use the gear to slow the plane down during a descent, which is crazy if you think about it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna question pilots as they're flying the plane, obviously. Okay, we want to go slower. And now we're going to start putting flaps slowly towards landing. Is this Camino? No, it's not. We're not quite there yet. The scenery is beautiful. It really is. That is Camino Island right there. I used to have lots of planes fly over all the time. Boeing builds their planes there. They also do all their flight testing from there of most of their wide-body airplanes.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Fly heading 190.
Heading 190. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
Actually, I want to slow that down a bit. How am I doing? Pretty alright. I slowed down the turn so I can catch my localizer. I'm actually gonna extend it a little bit more. As you can see right here, glide slope is already coming down. Localizer not yet. 190. Turn on approach. Then my localizer is moving, and it already captured the localizer.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Fly heading 160. Report the field in sight.
Heading 160. We'll call the field. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
Awesome. So altitude hold is turned off. It captured
Papa, Hotel,
the glide
Oscar,
slope.
Zulu, Charlie. Climb and maintain 3,000.
Up to 3,000. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
I'm not gonna do that. I'd like to stay on glide slope. Come on.
Center, Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Contact tower on 132.95.
Contact tower on 132.95. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
Come on. There's another annoyance
Papa,
in this
Hotel,
game.
Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
There is the runway. This is the Boeing factories. This is the flight line. I don't have clearance to land yet. I'm gonna throw the gear down. I now have landing flaps all the way down. I want to turn my auto brakes to 2, which is plenty. It's a really big runway, and now I'm going to play a little bit with the speed brake, and I'm looking for this green light right there. And as soon as I land, the speed brakes will come up and it will slow the plane down and decrease the lift of the wings. So landing flaps, I got speed brakes, I got my auto speed brake, I got auto brake there. Lights are on.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Runway 16 right. Clear to land.
Clear to land. A speed of 140 is a good speed for this plane to land. It all depends on what the weight of the plane is, but 140 will do it most of the time. I'll say most because I've never crashed with it, but
Papa, Hotel, Oscar,
Oh.
Zulu, Charlie. Runway 16 right. Clear to land.
forgot to do the
Runway
read.
16
Yeah.
right. Cleared to land. Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie.
And we're coming in. And at some point you will see the plane starting to hunt a little bit, going nose up and down and up and down. It doesn't do a very good flare. It'll just slam it down. Here it goes.
Sink right, sink right, sink right.
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Gate, taxi via 16 Romeo, Alpha, 3, Alpha, Alpha, 1, Kilo, 1, hold short of runway 16 right.
Yeah, I'm not making that one. Didn't even use
Papa, Hotel, Oscar, Zulu, Charlie. Cross runway 16 right. Hold short of runway 16 right.
do you mind me taking this one? Wow,
Papa
I'm still
Hotel
fast.
Oscar Zulu Charlie. Cross runway 16 right. Hold short of runway 16 right.
Okay.
Cross 16 right. Hold short of 16 right. Papa Hotel Oscar Zulu Charlie.
Suck up the flaps. We'll turn off all the lights. There we go. And we'll find our spot. Let's see where they want us to park. And after parking, we'll turn off engines and call it a day. I don't know if it wants me to park somewhere different every time, or... Yeah, we're heading north. That's different from last time. Last time I parked at ATS. There's a hangar back there. It's kind of a shame because back then I passed Paul Allen's Flying Heritage collection. The late great Paul Allen. So to the right here is the Boeing flight line. These are not the planes that are supposed to be parked right there, and it's also no longer a 400, 747-400 that's being built. They're building the Dash 8s, not many of them anymore, like one every couple of months or so. Unfortunately, that is a plane of the past. Two engines do the job just as fine nowadays and are just as reliable, so 4 engines don't make sense anymore. And the 777 is a much more efficient plane, both maintenance and fuel, and so pretty soon it'll be 777X. I have seen one already, by the way, 777X. It's the one they're going to be breaking apart, or breaking the wings off. Or try to break the wings. Alright, hold short.
Papa Hotel Oscar Zulu Charlie. Cross runway 16 right.
Awesome.
Cross 16 right. Papa Hotel Oscar Zulu Charlie.
We are going to a place where the big hump parks, the big dream lifters, get unloaded right there. And to the right there is the future of flight. Right there.
Papa Hotel Oscar Zulu Charlie. Contact ground on 121.8.
Contact ground on 121.8. Papa Hotel Oscar Zulu Charlie.
Yeah, man.
Ground Papa Hotel Oscar Zulu Charlie.
Ground doesn't care. So they are building a terminal on this airport right now, right next to the tower over there on the left. Which is going to be great for me, because I'd love to do a flight to Las Vegas from close by and not always go to Seatac. The drive is hell and the parking is hell, and it's just not fun. I'd like to enjoy my trips to Las Vegas. Ah, those front wheels just squeal. It's kind of a weird spot to park. I'm going to park on the line. How's that? Beauty. I don't see anybody waving me in, but I think this is as good a place as any. Let's hit the parking brake. Let's see. I'm crooked. Somebody's going to fire me for that. So this is the cargo ramp where the hump, where the big the Dreamlifter gets unloaded. And oh look, somebody's waiting with the ground power for me. That's nice. This is where the factory is, the big factory, and there's a little taxiway. Well, it's not a taxiway, it's just a little road over the freeway right there. Right here is where planes get fueled, and this is the flight line where the planes get are made ready for flight, for their first flight and for delivery. Alright, so turn off engines and stuff, I suppose. Let's there. It's kind of awkward moving this thing around. Engine number 1. There goes the engine number 1. Oh, you know what? Let's turn on power on ground power or on the APU. Engine number 2. Both engines are shut down. Turn off all the lights. I don't need air anymore. These switches just get left and on usually. I still have my APU running, so I'll keep my left fuel pumps on. That's it. That pretty much concludes my little flight and explanation of some of the systems. Hope you enjoyed it. It was a quick flight. It wasn't all that bad of a landing actually. I've had much harder ones. This was a pretty good one considering, even though I got the sink rate during the last little bit. It did flare a little and landed pretty softly actually. So thank you very much for joining me, and maybe in the future I'll make some more videos. This is not what I usually do. I enjoy it, but yeah, well, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.